Being an old school Pokemon fan who really hasn't been heavily involved in the franchise since the Diamond and Pearl days, I'll admit I was a little bit skeptical when I heard the news that Warner Brothers was moving forward with making a Detective Pikachu movie. To be fair, I've never actually played the game before I saw either one of the trailers, and I still haven't, honestly, I've only played the demo, but the trailers actually look pretty interesting. The designs of the realistic-ish Pokemon are pretty good, it seems like the movie's gonna have tons of cool Easter eggs and references to the wider Pokemon universe, and based on what all we've gotten so far, it seems like Ryan Reynolds is doing some great voice work as the titular Electric Rodent. But as fun as both of the trailers for this movie are, it does have me wondering, how the hell can a Pikachu talk in the first place? Aren't Pokemon essentially the animals of that universe? I mean, yeah, I know a lot of Pokemon like Alakazam and Metagross, for example, are supposed to be super intelligent, but just being really smart is only part of the problem. There's also the fact that our anatomy has evolved to give us better control over the types of sounds that we make, allowing us to be able to talk as we do now. With all their weird shapes and sizes, it seems unlikely that Pokemon in general would have also evolved the right set of tools to be able to talk like us. I mean, it's essentially like me saying my cat can talk.
This doesn't make any sense!
So what's going on here? Is Detective Pikachu just part of some random offshoot of Pokemon mutants? Or is this just a thing Nintendo randomly decided to throw in the game because they thought a tiny animal with a deep man voice would be funny?
I'm not just a detective. I'm a great detective. Detective Pikachu.
Well, actually, the idea of Pokemon being able to talk really isn't anything new. It actually started off as an idea being kicked around during production of the original anime series. Seriously, somebody had the bright idea that the Pokemon on the show would eventually start speaking like people over time, with Ash's Pikachu even set to have a young childlike voice at some point. However, this was, thankfully, eventually scrapped thanks to disagreements with Pokemon game developer Game Freak, leaving Team Rocket's Meowth as the show's only talking Pokemon. Of course, as fans of the anime know, this compromise didn't last, and we later saw other talking Pokemon as the series continued, including the Ghastly at Maiden's Peak, Slowking, Entei, and Mewtwo, among others. And even though it may have initially been spared this fate, Ash's Pikachu was eventually seen talking, as shown in the 2017 movie, Pokemon the Movie, I Choose You.
Why won't you get in your Pokeball?
It's because I always want to be with you.
It didn't go over well with a lot of people. Now, I know some of you guys are probably thinking, okay, comics, but that's just the anime. The games are the only real canon, and we've never seen any of the Pokemon talking in any of those. Well, actually, that's not true either. We've actually seen Pokemon being able to talk as far back as Generation 1. Copycat's Doduo talks to you a little bit if you interact with it, and all the ghost Pokemon in the Pokemon Tower give you the usual, "Get out," if you don't have the Silph Scope with you. And this wasn't just limited to one generation either. In the Generation 2 games and their Gen 4 remakes, you can get the password to the generator room in Mahogany Town by speaking to a Murkrow. Speaking of Gen 4, those games also introduced the Pokemon Chatot, which has a Pokédex entry that specifically mentions it can speak like a human through the use of its chatter move. And of course, if you played either of the Gen 7 games, you'll remember that the Pokédex you use is actually possessed by a chatty Rotom. So, okay, fine, there's a lot of different Pokemon in the games and the anime that can talk like people. But so what, right? I mean, there's plenty of examples of animals in the real world either communicating through sign language or just making noises that kind of sound like words, and even then, there's always been a ton of debate over whether or not they even understand what those words actually mean. How do we know the same thing isn't going on in the Pokemon universe? Well, it's not exactly spelled out for every single Pokemon in the games, but when you really stop and think about it, it's actually pretty clear that all of them have a deeper understanding of human language than you might think. For example, take a look at the Pokédex entries for Lapras. There's a ton of different games where it's mentioned that Lapras can fully understand human language, including Pokemon Stadium, Fire Red, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Black and White 1 and 2, Y, and both of the Let's Go games. Same thing for Latias, if you believe the Pokédex entry for Sapphire anyway. So given the fact that some Pokemon have been shown being able to speak, and certain wild Pokemon are just generally able to understand human language, it seems like all of them could speak if they really wanted to. The only thing stopping them is just getting them to learn how to pronounce the words. Seriously, this idea that Pokemon can learn how to speak is even backed up in an episode from the anime. In the episode Go West Young Meowth, we saw Team Rocket's Meowth teaching himself how to speak like a human being by watching TV and reading books. So I guess all Pokemon really did just happen to evolve with the right throat and voice box combo to form human words. Go figure. But whoa, hold on a second. That still doesn't make any sense. How can something like a Pikachu talk like a normal person? Or even a Ghastly? I mean, that one's just a ball of gas. How does it even have vocal cords? Well, there are two ways to explain this. If you're one of those people that likes a good theory, then you may have already heard the one about people and Pokemon originally sharing some distant ancestor before everything evolved into what we eventually have now. We've seen examples of this in the Pokemon Moon Pokédex entry for Gengar, and the Emerald, Fire Red, and Sun Pokédex entries for Kadabra, all of which claim that these two Pokemon used to be people at one point. Side note, there's a ton of different Pokedex entries talking about people turning into Pokemon. What the hell is going on over there? Who or what is going around making people these magical creatures? And if the humans in that universe know that some Pokemon used to be people, then why the hell are they still going around kidnapping them and forcing them to fight each other? Anyways, in Diamond and Pearl, there's a book with a couple different folk stories in it, one mentioning that a Pokemon was able to turn into a person and take a nap somewhere, and the other one claiming that people and Pokemon would marry each other because they were once one and the same. It was even referenced again in Pokemon Y. So there you have it. Pokemon share a common ancestor with humans, and they all share the ability to speak like people do. Mind blown. Of course, the other option is a lot less interesting than that. You know how some real-life animals, like parrots, can actually say words and learn new ones over time? Well, according to research done by Professor Eric Jarvis, this is because, much like humans, parrot brains are not only more capable of picking up and understanding new sounds, but because of a development in their forebrain, they're also able to make more direct connections to the muscles that control their vocal tract, allowing them to practice and eventually reproduce those sounds. Interestingly, the genes involved in this process were also found to be used in a similar way in humans and certain other species of birds, meaning the genes we use to help us talk are the same genes some birds use to sing.
Neat!
So I guess that means the Pokemon universe is full of a bunch of weird looking birds. Cool. But even then though, what's the point? Whether you're sticking with the games or you watch the anime, it seems like Pokemon have their own ways of communicating, being able to express a variety of emotions through their cries, or outright being able to say their species name. So why would a random Pokemon want to start talking like a person in the first place? Well, again, we can look at the animal kingdom for an explanation. Considering how most animals that learn to talk are from highly social species, it's been theorized that the animals in captivity that learn to talk to humans do it as a way of bonding with their trainers or whatever other humans happen to be close by, or even to better communicate whatever they might want or want to do. This is also something we see reflected in the Pokemon world, like when Ash and friends found a bunch of Pikachu in the woods that one time, or how you always seem to be able to find a decent number of the same Pokemon in any given area, both of which imply that Pokemon are very social creatures. And this would even tie back into the anime's original idea of having Pokemon learning to speak over time. They'd be doing it because of their close bonds with their human trainers. And sure, maybe the games haven't really explored this idea all that well, but considering how the Pokemon we do see talking in game just happen to either be living with people or in environments where they'd be interacting with a lot of people, I'm inclined to believe that this same idea of Pokemon bonding or trying to find better ways of telling dumb trainers what they want also applies here. So there you go. Whether you're playing the games, watching the show, or maybe even watching a future Pokemon movie, it seems like whenever you see a talking Pokemon, you're actually seeing a Pokemon that loves their trainer so much, they just had to tell them about it. Or they're just tired of dealing with your shit and they want you to get the fuck out of their house. Either one. But anyways guys, that's my take on why/how Pokemon are able to talk. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own thoughts you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.